This is from The Heart of Everyday Life by Pema Chodron, from the book called Comfortable with Uncertainty, which kind of seems like it's appropriate for where we are right now. The Buddha said we are never separated from enlightenment. Even at times we feel most stuck, we're never alienated from an awakened state. This is a revolutionary assertion. Even ordinary people like us with hangups and confusion have this mind of enlightenment called bodhicitta. An analogy for bodhicitta is the rawness of a broken heart. This is our link with all those who have ever loved. This genuine heart of sadness can teach us great compassion. It can humble us when we're arrogant and soften us when we are unkind. It awakens us when we prefer to sleep and pierces through our indifference. This continual ache of the broken heart open is a blessing that when fully accepted can be shared with all. Even when our neurosis feels far more basic than our wisdom, even when we're feeling most confused and helpless, bodhicitta, like the open sky, is always there, undiminished by the clouds that temporarily cover it. Bodhicitta is available in moments of caring for things, when we clean our glasses or brush our hair. It's available in moments of appreciation when we notice the blue sky or pause to listen to the rain. It's available in moments of gratitude when we recall kindness or recognize another person's courage. It's available in music and art and dance and poetry. Whenever we let go of holding on to ourselves and look at the world around us, whenever we connect with sorrow, whenever we connect with joy, whenever we drop our resentment or complaint, in those moments, bodhicitta is there. How many of you are feeling anxious and overwhelmed? And who was it? Somebody just said it. We are the ones we have been waiting for, right? We're it. Nobody's going to come, at least in terms of my understanding of Unitarian Universalism, nobody's going to come down from on high and fix it for us. This is us, and we have to do it. We are the co-creators of the world in which we live and love and have our being. And our actions, large and small, can make a difference. And spiritual practice is part of changing our behavior and learning to respond to people and situations around us rather than reacting to them. And what we know, in the 1980s, there was some research done at Harvard University that taught us that meditation actually can impact how we heal. It actually can change the brain and how we live and function in the world. And so the negative messages that we receive, all of that changes the chemistry in our body. And if we can engage in some kind of spiritual practice, whatever that may be for you, whether it's meditation or walking or whatever it is that you do, there's a way for us to re-engage and connect in deeper ways, to be able to stay calm in times of stress, and to be able to hold on to what's important to us when all the world feels like chaos. We carry our biases, our stereotypes, and our fears everywhere we go. And we all know that we project those onto people, whether we want to or not. It's unconscious most of the time, but we do it. And the saying that hurt people is, in my experience, true. And as a hurt person, I know that I have hurt people from my own woundedness. So think about the last time you got in a fight or a disagreement with somebody. What happened? What did that feel like for you? Just think about it for a minute. I know for myself, I start to feel my body tighten up. I can feel my shoulders start to rise up. I can feel my hands clench. My breath gets shallow. My voice gets tight. I get louder because I'm afraid I'm not going to be heard. And when tension fills the body like that, it it's really hard for the mind to be clear. Y'all know in brain chemistry, there's a little thing in the back of your brain called the amygdala. It's this little part of your brain that's the lizard, that it acts the fight, flight thing that happens when something goes on, right? Flight, fright, freeze, or fawn, which is the fourth one. And so when that gets reactive, we can't think, because the limbic system, which is the part of your brain that is emotion, that's it. That's all that can happen. And the neocortex can't kick in, and so our brains can't think. And we're caught in that reactive emotional state, and we cannot do anything that is useful or thoughtful, because we're stuck there. So when tension fills the mind, it's hard to do or say things that we're not going to regret later, because we're reacting rather than responding. And the truth is that there are very few of us that don't get caught up in our emotions and become reactionary. We all do it. It's part of the human nature. And it takes practice, regular practice, to notice when those feelings of anxiety are beginning to rise, to notice how the body is responding, and to begin to get a sense of how to regulate and bring things back to center. And we also have the capacity, as Pema Chodron describes, to become that enlightened being that helps return to human form, to help others to awaken, to become bodhicitta, to live in the rawness of the open heart. This is our link with all those who have ever lived, because we have all experienced a broken heart. And we know what that feels like, and we know how hard that is. We all have the capacity, even in the middle of a disagreement, to stop and take a breath and let our heart be open, to show our vulnerability and to act as we would like others to act towards us, to act in ways that are caring for ourselves and for others, to attend, as Martin Buber says, to an I-thou relationship. We humanize both ourselves and the other. We consider the golden rule. Meditation can literally change the way we respond to certain situations and people. It literally changes our brain chemistry. Meditation can help us be steadfast. When we practice meditation, we become steadfast. We become more firm in our resolutions to become a better person and move in that direction. We become clear seeing when we practice meditation. We have the ability to be more honest with ourselves, and when we're more honest with ourselves, we can be more honest with those around us. Less self-deception. We're more concerned about what's true and how to be fully present. We can experience our emotional distress and stop guarding ourselves from pain, because we know pain is inevitable. And if we can lean into it and allow our hearts to break open, to feel, to just feel, not analyzing or fixing or trying to change anything, but just experience the emotion and let it go. And lastly, attention to the present moment. We make a choice moment by moment to be present, here, now. And we attend to the present moment. We care for ourselves with a tender heart, and we care for the other with a tender heart. We engage that I-thou relationship that Martin Buber talked about. It's no longer transactional. What can I get from you? What is it you can offer me? Instead of, how can you and I be in relationship together? And how can we engage together in ways that benefit us both? Spiritual practices come in lots of different forms. Meditation is the most common. I'm sure you're all aware of that. And in this idea of the bodhisattva, the enlightened beings return to human form to help awaken others. They're seen as spiritual warriors, sent to teach us how we too can awaken. And Rita, you're standing out there at Five Corners. That's a moment of bodhicitta warrior, right? Like, here we are, trying to make a difference in the world. The bodhisattva warrior is armed with a weapon of protection. And I think this is important to understand. The Buddhist practice of loving kindness meditation is the practice that is engaged when you're talking about Tonglen. This is the practice that Pema Chodron is most involved with. And this practice of loving meditation, of loving kindness meditation, is a way of moving this sense of wholeness out beyond ourselves. It's a practice grounded in the four limitless qualities of Buddhism: unlimited love, unlimited compassion, unlimited joy, and unlimited equanimity. And it may seem impossible to many of you to hold any of these qualities in any kind of an unlimited way. We probably can't even imagine what it would look like to experience unlimited love, unlimited compassion, unlimited joy, unlimited equanimity. We can barely experience them in moments, never mind experiencing them all the time, everywhere. But we have to start where we are. And unlimited love is what the Greeks called agape, or God love. It's sometimes translated as unconditional love. In loving kindness meditation, self-love and self-acceptance are encompassed in unlimited love, and it's the place we start. Jesus said, you have to love your neighbor as you love yourself. I'm pretty convinced that we are loving our neighbors the way we love ourselves, which says that we don't love ourselves very much. Right? So how do we shift that? How do we bring that sense of self-love in a way that's right-sized, that's humble, that's centered and grounded in a larger sense of the world? The idea of unlimited love may be small to begin with, but focus on something small, on a moment of love or care that you had. I'm going to just ask you to take a moment. Think about something, a place, a person, an animal, something, someone that gives you a sense of love, and just hold that for a minute. Feel the sensation in your body as you think about that love. Focus on that sensation of love for just another minute. And know that all sentient beings experience or have the capacity to experience this love. This deep experience of love often brings with it a sense of compassion for ourselves and others. And compassion is more than just empathy. Compassion is actually the desire to remove the pain from another person, to help them find peace in difficult situations and circumstances. During the Occupy movement, there was a report of an arrest of two guys who were meditating out in front of one of the courthouses. And they were just sitting there meditating, these two guys. But, you know, the cops were not happy about that because it was a protest, and so they went up and they manhandled them and they threw them on their faces and they put their hands behind their backs and they slapped the cuffs on them. And one of the police officers leaned over to one of the guys he was arresting, and he said, you know, he made some comment, and the guy who was being arrested looked up at the officer and said, I understand why you're doing this. I understand this is your job. I don't have any hard feelings about this. It's okay. And he engaged that officer in a conversation. And by the time he got the guy into the paddy wagon to take him down to the police station, they'd made arrangements to have coffee the next day. Again, I invite you to focus for a moment on that feeling of love. And this time I invite you to extend that feeling out to someone you know who needs your compassion. Someone you love, someone you work with, a family member, a friend, or even a person you're having a difficult time with. Extend some love to them. When we experience that kind of compassion, we sometimes experience a sense of relief, a lifting of pain or sorrow or anger that we might have been carrying around, an ease, a sense of relief, maybe even a sense of joy. A deep sense of peace or playfulness can sometimes fill the space where our pain once resided. And sometimes it takes a while. And then there's joy. Joy is connected with gratitude, wonder, and awe, and our ability to have hope. It can come from knowing that others are happy and feeling well too. Unlimited joy is experiencing the world, all of it, and accepting it. The good and the bad, the hard and the joyful. The complexity and richness, the diversity of all the world is deeply moving. And we can, if we let it, bring joy to our hearts. We can recognize the sacredness and the uniqueness in all life, in all things. And finally, there's unlimited equanimity, a mental or emotional stability and composure, especially when we're under stress, the ability to maintain that sense of regulation. This is a place of balance, the place of groundedness from which we can respond to the world rather than reacting. And equanimity prevents us from stepping too far in any direction that would cause us to harm others. It's a sense of peace that comes from experiencing and holding that unconditional love, that unconditional compassion, that unconditional joy. All of that comes together in unconditional equanimity. Gil Fronsdal writes, "Equanimity is one of the most sublime emotions of the Buddhist practice. It is the ground for wisdom and freedom and the protector of compassion and love. While some may think of equanimity as a dry neutrality or cool aloofness, mature equanimity produces a radiance and warmth of being. The Buddha described a mind filled with equanimity as abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. It is the ability to gain or take some distance or perspective. It is, as Fronsdal writes, the ability to see without being caught in what we see. The ability to see without being caught in what we see. When well developed, such a power gives rise to great peace. It also refers to the ease that comes from seeing the bigger picture, kind of being up in the balcony. In India, the word is sometimes used to mean to see with patience, to gain some distance from where we are. Equanimity lifts us from the intractable and allows us to see creativity and flow. It pulls us out of that amygdala and the limbic system and back up into our neocortex so we can think again and be creative again. Equanimity comes from knowing and deeply understanding that all sentient beings experience emotions, feel pain, and react to situations often without thinking. But by practicing loving kindness, we can experience a boundless love. With love, compassion, joy, and equanimity at our fingertips, we can change the world. We just have to keep practicing. The Buddhists called these limitless qualities because the more we experience them, the more we focus on them, the more they become available to us and are present and easy to access. Love is not limited. Compassion is not limited. Equanimity is not limited. Joy is not limited. The more we feel them, the more we generate them, the more others experience them and also can generate them. We begin with ourselves, then those closest to us, then those a little bit further out, and then the whole world. May I be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May we be filled with loving kindness. May our enemies be filled with loving kindness. May all be filled with loving kindness. Pema Chodron reminds us, whatever we let go of holding on to ourselves and look at the world around us, whenever we connect with sorrow, with joy, whenever we drop our resentments and complaints, In those moments, bodhicitta is there. We are the ones we have been waiting for. So I must ask, what is it that we are waiting for? Can we commit to changing ourselves, our future, for our children's future, for the hope of the next 7 generations? Let us be bodhisattva warriors. Let us bring loving kindness to a world full of fear and pain. And let us hold this metta in our hearts, and may it guide our actions. And I invite you now to join in singing our final hymn, May I Be Filled with Loving Kindness. In your teal hymnal, I don't know what number it is. 1038? 1038. 1031. I will close with the words of Octavia Butler, author and of dystopian novels. She writes, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change."